I mean, Dave Politz seems to think so. I don't think so. I can see some things that would give you an idea that it is. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a humanoid. It stands upright. It's got feet that go flat on the ground and walks on two legs.
Yeah,
But
but that still don't mean it is. You know, it's a hard until you get a beast itself, and or get some DNA.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
that, maybe DNA may not prove it. You know? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to say it's human, you kind of have to say, well, it acts like a human too. There are wild people, but they still have like culture, religion.
But they can be tamed very easily. I mean, they can,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say tamed. That's kind of a
Well,
poor word.
like civilized.
Yeah, civilized. Better word for it.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's hard to imagine if they could catch a Sasquatch that they would be able to keep it in a King Kong cage, let alone in a classroom or or a job.
Well, of course there's stories how they've had that one captured at one time up in Canada, you know. And
Back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Jacko.
Chaco, yeah. And then there's stories about down in the Lower Klamath down there of one interbreeding with an Indian lady. But that's all. I don't know. I just don't really believe it. Now, I'm not saying that they aren't possibly aroused by a woman, you know, but I don't think it could be. They might rape a woman.
Well, there's stories about bears being the same way too.
Sure.
Being attracted to campsites and possibly more.
Well, chimpanzees attracted to them in the zoo. You know?
Yeah.
One come by and saw it.
Yeah. It would just indicate that they're somehow similar. But,
Right. Mm-hmm.
We may be related to, Bigfoot the same way that we're related to apes, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily human. It may just be a different form that is like us.
It's a different animal. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
So how are we doing on our levels there?
I think we have them well set.
Have you been recording in there?
Yes, I have been recording, but it's been up and down, and I had to pause a couple of times.
Okay.
Some things you can't adjust on the fly.
I'm not getting too much of a reading off my phone here. This is going to be the backup, maybe,
Sure.
But as far as the human thing, since we're talking about that, it's a major issue right now with certain people like Dave Paulides and M.K. Davis and Bobby Short. They're on the one side, and then like John Green is on the other side, more the ape crowd. It seems that these divisions have gone further than just whether it's a human or an ape. It's taken on a whole theoretical, almost political division between the two.
Yeah, and it's and I got it right in the big middle of that with John Green and M.K. Davis and everything with that so-called they killed one up there and skinned it and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know whether you know what really happened or not.
Well, that's part of what I was hoping to ask you about. You might know some things.
Well, I know more. I don't know what happened. Actually, I was at both sites, and they were much different times. What they did, John Green and Renee Hennon, when they took and spliced the two films together. One was made at the film site of Patterson Film Site. The other was made for Patterson Film, and the other one was made at the Blue Mountain.
Yeah, Blue Creek Mountain.
Blue Creek Mountain. It was from there, and they completely long way up there. They weren't together, and they were probably about 6 weeks apart. But they splashed them together so they'd have more to show people when they took this film across.
Like for documentary presentations.
Yeah, across Canada. They took this and showed it across Canada. And then somehow, well, after what happened was, I believe, after Renee died, somehow they got a hold of a copy of the film, that film that they took across, which had those on it. So then they saw that, and so they immediately said, "There's a backhoe in there." They killed one. MK said he could see where they skinned one and buried it. And
I have pictures there, like from MK. But also, Dave Paulides was saying that he had found this film in the Ray Crow Western Bigfoot Society archives.
Yep.
That was an uncut earlier version of the Patterson film that had bits that no one had seen before. And, you know, acting as if these were the same film rather than, like, you know, spliced together for a documentary.
He's saying that is wrong, absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
I know I know him very well, but I told him so.
Should join in the interview a bit.
But I told him, I told MK, I told Paulides, they're wrong. Two different sides. I said, for one thing, that backhoe has a very big footprint. You can't dig a hole with that and mess around there with a backhoe, because it leaves a lot of tracks, and you can see where it's dug and everything else. Okay? I went up there with John Green and some other people that I don't remember. John Green's the only one I can remember for sure that went up there. Anyway, we went up there to the next spring.
After the film was shot, the Patterson film?
Yeah, I think it was about June.
That agrees with what John Green says in his book.
Yeah, right.
He didn't make it down there until the following summer because of the roads being closed and snow.
But anyway, we went up there, and John had part of the film. He had a slide made of every one of them, every frame. And he told me I was out in front of him, and this time all the leaves from the fall had fell on those and covered the whole thing. And it hadn't washed through there. The river, it never got, it didn't have any real high water.
Yeah,
so
the sandbar sits up a bit from the creek, doesn't it?
Yeah, and nothing got in there. Okay, he could take that and look out through it, and he'd go out through it, and he'd say this way, or right or left, or a little further out, and he said, try there. And he said, I could feel underneath the leaves the tracks. And so we managed to go out to where he lost it across there after the film. We could take the whole way. We could go right through there and find every track. Now, if you buried one, you would have made a mess. And you wouldn't have left those, and you couldn't have been what was there.
Yeah.
And so we knew, we knew we had the right place, because we could tell not on a tree or something else to guide us by. And so we knew we had the right place. Okay? Now, there was no tracks, no indication of anything being buried. There was no indication of any equipment being in there.
Well, Bob Gimlin had said, apparently, and this is being quoted by MK and his associate people, that Gimlin had said there was no way they could get heavy equipment in there without like a helicopter.
No, there still isn't.
But then others claim that, in fact, there was a road, like right next to the creek. That
well, you see that
they have this picture with the truck in the back, and it's got logs on it. I don't know if I have that with me.
I thought it was in that stack.
Maybe
Well, you
it's
see
this
that?
one.
All
Yeah,
right.
see, they're claiming this is the Patterson-Gimlin site,
You see,
but
that's
that's from the film that was taken by Renee DeHinden on the Blue Creek Mountain trip.
That's correct, because there's the dog. The dog was with us. And this looks like John,
That's John Green. That's
but I
known.
don't know.
And they claim this guy is Dale Moffat, the guy from Canada who came down with John. He's acting as the dog handler, apparently.
Well, they had there was the four of them, I think. Okay, I got to stop and think. There was John, the dog handler, Renee, and that's three, I guess. Just
Well,
three.
there's Renee taking the film there. There's John in the middle,
Mhm.
Dale Moffat in the white T-shirt, and then this guy is one of the central questions.
I just don't know who would be. I don't know.
Like,
That's got a pretty good picture, though. Let me see if I can.
it's a fairly poor image taken off the internet.
Well, but I don't know.
But that man is one of the bones of contention that has been.
Let me turn that light on.
On the other side of that picture, there's another image of him there.
Okay. But,
Are we recording? I'm hoping this is going to work. Yeah, I think so. That's the best print I could get of that image.
yeah. No, I can't. I thought that maybe this might help, but it don't.
Yeah.
It would help a bit.
What about the one on the other side there? If you flip it over.
No, it almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
This image here is the same guy. And you can see who they're claiming it is with the lettering above it there.
yeah, it's just no, it's for some reason or other it blurs it. No, I don't know.
But you can see who they're claiming it is there.
Well, it isn't Bob Titmus. I know that.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
was-
this is the Bob Titmus from 1963
And you see,
in Heimpalm.
yeah. Well, you see, I was the one that called this Bob Titmus, because I was mistaken. I'd forgotten that G. Hendon went with it, not Bob Titmus.
Yeah, and maybe they didn't clarify which trip it was from, perhaps.
Well, I don't know, but this Bob wasn't on this trip. There's no doubt about
I
it.
understood that Bob Titmus was living in Canada at the time.
I believe he was.
Yeah,
I
like,
believe he was.
are you aware of when he moved from Reading or
No,
Anderson?
I'm not sure. I just don't know. He may have, but I don't remember. You know.
But
But he
this,
went up there. Bob went up there for a long time. He went up. In fact, he went up, explored some of the offshore islands, and he had casts from out there.
yeah, up near Vancouver.
But his boat burned, and he lost all the casts.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
sad story.
Yeah,
It was
I know it.
research materials and stuff too.
Yep.
But this is the guy who was actually there. Did you say that? Yeah, I'm showing him a picture of the so-called pilot. Did you say that looks like Bob Titmus there?
No, that don't look like Bob Titmus to me. No.
That's a picture from 1967 up on Blue Creek Mountain.
Yeah, I just no.
And so you could probably see that this is probably the same guy, perhaps, based on his shirt, the sleeves rolled up, and the pants.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's definitely not Bob Titmus in there. I mean, this is definitely a younger man than the Bob Titmus from 1963 on the other side.
Yeah. And he looked taller than Bob. Bob wasn't that tall a man.
But when you last saw Bob Titmus, what year was that, you know? You probably knew him pretty well.
No, I knew him pretty well,
Yeah.
but I didn't. I don't remember when last time I saw him.
Yeah. You think it might have been after the film was made here by Patterson-Gimlin? Because Bob Titmus is said to have come down like what was it,